Hi, good afternoon, everyone. Beta, this is part 1 of our discussion for 2023 paper for Indian Economic Service, right? The exam is just around the corner, and it is very important that we go ahead and we discuss the past year papers of IES Economics, right? Okay, so today what I'm going to do is I'm going to discuss the past year solutions of paper 1. And in particular, within paper 1, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to discuss entirely question number 1 today. So we are going to go ahead and see what will be the solutions to question number 1. So first part to this question goes ahead and it says that in a world, in a too good world, prove that both the goods cannot be inferior. In a too good world, prove that both the goods cannot be inferior. Okay, try to see beta. Dekho, see, inferior goods have this property. पहले समझ लेते हैं, then we will go ahead and write this down. Inferior goods have this property that when income increases, the demand of the good decreases. Right? This is the first thing we have to remember. But the second thing we have to remember is that to maximize the utility, a consumer must always be on his budget line. एक consumer का utility will only be maximum if he is on his budget line. If he is below his budget line, अगर वो अपनी budget line से नीचे रहेगा, then he will not be able to maximize his utility. तो what does this mean, बेटा? इसका क्या मतलब है? What is the implication of this? The implication of this is that suppose I draw a budget line. This is M by PX, M by PY, right? And now, so this is, I've taken good X here, and I have taken good Y here. And now I am telling you that there is increase in the income of the consumer. So where we know that when income of the consumer increases, the budget line shifts outwards. It shifts to the right. So this is my new budget line. This is M dash by PX, M dash by PY. This new budget line is drawn with higher income. It's drawn with higher income. So, समझो बात को. We are going ahead and saying that there is increase in income of consumer. When income of consumer will increase, the budget line will shift rightwards or outwards. Now, suppose I was here on my equilibrium, right? Now, what I want that my new equilibrium should be on this new budget line. I can be anywhere on this budget line, but I have to be on the budget line to maximize the utility, right? It should not be the case that my new equilibrium is below the budget line. Wherever my new equilibrium is, जहां पे भी मेरा नया equilibrium है, I should be able to maximize my utility only if I am on the budget line. मेरे को budget line के ऊपर होना जरूरी है. Is this making sense? Okay, now just try to understand this thing. What is the equation of my budget line? The equation of my budget line is Px into X plus Py into Y is equal to income of the consumer. Suppose I tell you that good X is an inferior good. Right? Good X is an inferior good. Now, I am also going ahead and telling you that there is an increase in your income. Your income has increased. Right? So just try to think about it. See, Price is constant, price is constant. Income has increased. Good X consumption has decreased because X is an inferior good. So when the consumption of good X will decrease, this would mean that your expenditure on good X has decreased. Making sense? Let me give you an example further. So for example, if I tell you, beta, initially your income was 100. Price of good X was 10 rupees and price of good Y was 20 rupees. Just giving you an example. Price of good X 10 rupees, price of good Y 20 rupees. Right? You were going ahead and consuming 2 units of good Y, suppose. And you were consuming 6 units of good X. Right? So you were going ahead and consuming your entire income. You were on the budget line and your bundle was here. This is good X, good Y. This is your budget line. This is 5, 10, because this is M by PX, income is 100, price of good X is 10, so this is 10. And this is M by PY, income is 100, price of good Y is 20, so this is 5. When I will join this, I will get my budget line. Now my bundle that I have chosen is 6, 2. So 6 lies here and 2 lies here. And this is my equilibrium bundle. Now, suppose I tell you that your income has increased to 200. Income has increased to 200. And I tell you that good X, it's an inferior good. So when your income is increasing, the demand for good X will decrease. So suppose I just consume 5 units of good X. Price is unchanged, right? So I am consuming 5 units of good X. That means I am spending 50 rupees here. Income is 200 and this is just good Y. I don't know how much Y will I consume. So what I have done is, now this is 20 beta, this is 10. This is my new budget line. And I have lowered the consumption of good X to 5 units. Now, I must be on the budget line. मेरे को budget line पे होना जरूरी है. So just think about it. If this thing that good X is an inferior good is matched with good Y also being inferior. Suppose I tell you both good X and good Y are inferior goods. So you will have to lower the consumption of good Y. So suppose I lower the consumption of good Y to 1 unit. Then I will be much below my budget line. This is 50 plus 20. I will only be spending 70 rupees when my income is 200. This is not allowed in microeconomics. You have to be on the budget line. So for you to be on the budget line, how many units of good Y will you consume when you have reduced the consumption of good X? Good Y will come out to be 200 minus 50 divided by 20. 150 divided by 20, it will come out to be 7.5. So you increased the consumption of good Y. And if you are increasing the consumption of good Y, automatically your good Y turns out to be a normal good. Good Y turns out to be a normal good, right? So try to understand when you have decreased this. If you decrease this also, you will be much below the budget line. Both of them cannot be inferior. You will not be on the budget line then. So when you decrease the consumption of one, you must go ahead and you must increase the consumption of the other good so that you can be on the new budget line. You have to spend this extra income. अगर दोनों ही कंजम्पशन को डिक्रीज कर दोगे, if you will decrease the consumption of both the goods, how will you go ahead and spend this extra income that you have? दोनों को ही अगर कम कंज्यूम करोगे पहले के कंपैरिजन में, If you will be consuming less of both the goods as comparison to earlier case, how will you go ahead and how will you consume both the goods? It's not possible. How will you be on the budget line, right? Now let's write this down. So please write it with me. How will we write the answer to this one? So we will say the consumer to attain an equilibrium must always consume his entire income and be on the budget line, right? Be on the budget line. If both goods are inferior goods, an increase in income must be followed by decrease in consumption of both the goods. If prices are constant, this would imply spending less than income and thus being below the budget line. A contradiction to maximizing utility of the consumer. Right? Am I clear how you will go ahead and write this? So it will be a contradiction. So then you can just show your budget line that this is Px into X plus Py into Y equal to income. And if you assume both to be inferior, so you are reducing this and increasing this, thereby you are spending less than your income. And thus you're ending up being on a lower budget line. I have already given you this example, right? Thus, you're being on a lower budget line or lower than the budget line. So if you are being on a part lower than the budget line, it automatically goes ahead and means that you are not maximizing your utility and it's a contradiction. Okay, beta. Okay, so I hope this answer is absolutely clear to you. Now we will go to the second part of this question. Okay. So part number B now. It says calculate the elasticity of substitution for the following production function. Calculate the elasticity of substitution for the following production function. You're given Q is equal to L to the power rho plus K to the power rho whole to the power 1 by rho. And you need to calculate the elasticity of substitution. This is a very common question in your exam, that elasticity of substitution, is asked to be calculated for different kind of goods. Okay. Okay. Now, just try to understand what is the formula. Sirf pehle formula samajh lo. Then we will go ahead and we will understand how to solve it. Very simple way to go ahead and solve this, right? So, elasticity of, but I hope my voice is clear to everyone. Can you please confirm this once? I hope I am audible. Yes. Okay. Okay. Fine. So elasticity of substitution, which is given by sigma, this is d ln K by L upon D ln MRTS. Now the question is, how do we calculate it? In order to go ahead and in order to calculate this, what you will be doing, you will always go ahead and you will first find MRTS, always. Whatever production function is given to you, you will begin by calculating MRTS. So I will start by MRTS. MRTS will be MPL by MPK. I will differentiate Q with respect to L. Differentiate Q with respect to K. So when I will be differentiating it with respect to L, power comes down. Power reduces by 1 into rho, L to the power rho minus 1. Then with respect to K, power comes down, power reduces by 1 into rho, K to the power rho minus 1. Okay, let's start cancelling these out, beta. So cancel, 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 cancel. So this will be L by K to the power rho minus 1. This will be MRTS. Now, look that in the numerator, I need K by L, right? And here I have got it as a ratio of L by K. So first of all, I will revert this in K by L. So tell me something. If I have to write 1 by 4, I can write it as 4 to the power minus 1. Isn't it? So if I need to go ahead and I need to revert this, can I take negative sign out? You're understanding it? Can I take negative sign out and then revert it? So if I say 4 by 5 to the power minus 1, I can write it as 5 by 4. Na? So I'm going to take this negative sign common. And this will be 1 minus rho. And this will become K by L to the power 1 minus rho. Right? So I have got this as my MRTS. Now I will take log on both sides. ln MRTS is equal to ln K by L to the power 1 minus rho. ln MRTS is equal to 1 minus rho ln K by L. I will take this here and this here. ln K by L upon ln MRTS. Acha, before I do that, because it is differentiation, so you can just take D everywhere. This is just a constant, so D will just come there. Now, D ln K by L, I will take this here, upon D ln MRTS, I will take this here, is equal to 1 upon 1 minus rho. Is equal to 1 upon 1 minus rho. And this is how you can go ahead and solve it. Is this clear? So this will be your elasticity of substitution. Okay, let's go on to the next question. Part number C. This is differentiate between adverse selection and moral hazard in determining pricing under incomplete information. Differentiate between adverse selection and moral hazard in determining price under incomplete information. Okay. Now just try to understand first of all the difference between adverse selection and moral hazard. This is very important that you understand the difference between the two first of all. So when we talk about adverse selection and moral hazard. So what happens now? Moral hazard comes from the word morally hazardous. Hazardous means something which is risky. तो morally risky कर सकते हैं. Morally incorrect. So moral hazard basically goes ahead and means something that is morally incorrect. अगर कोई चीज morally incorrect है तो उसको हम moral hazard बोलते हैं. For example, if I go ahead and I buy an insurance, right? I have purchased an insurance related to my health, right? And just after I buy this insurance, I do things which are morally incorrect. I start eating too much oily food, right? Then that is morally wrong, right? That now just that I have this insurance with me, I am doing things which are morally incorrect, right? So moral hazard usually takes place after the transaction. Moral hazard takes place after the transaction, whereas adverse selection takes place before the transaction. Adverse selection is usually a problem of, the biggest example is problem of the markets of lemons, right? So for example, if we have a market of cars, and these are all second-hand cars, and I cannot tell which is a good second-hand car and which is a bad second-hand car, then I am dealing with the problem of adverse selection. I am not able to, because there is a gap in the information between buyer and seller. So the buyer does not know the quality of the car by just looking at the car. The buyer is not able to tell whether the car is going to be a good quality car or a bad quality car. That is basically your adverse selection problem, right? Now, both things, whether it is adverse selection or moral hazard, actually lead to an increase in the price of commodity. See, it's a 5 marks question. So I cannot do it in detail ki what is principal agent problem and what happens and what not happens. It's a 5 marks question. So we just have to go ahead and tell things in a little, in a smaller way. जितना छोटे में बताएंगे उतना ही काफी रहेगा, right? So it's a 5 marks question. So now let's start with moral hazard. Now, just because I know that many people after buying insurance can go ahead and can do wrong things. They can do things which are morally hazardous, right? Therefore, I will want to go ahead and charge higher insurance premium from people, right? I will have to keep myself secure, right? That in case they go ahead and they do something which is morally hazardous, I am covered, right? I have already collected higher premium from them, right? Now think about adverse selection. In adverse selection, what is one way in which I can tell people that my second-hand car is a good quality car? Through signaling. But how will I give signal? I will have to give warranty. I will have to do other things. But since I have a good quality car, good quality second-hand car, which is very different from the bad quality second-hand car, I will not be willing to sell it for a lower price. I will be only willing to sell it for a higher price, right? So even to signal that my quality is good, I may want to go ahead and I may want to charge a higher price for my car. Are you getting it? So basically, when we talk about adverse selection, so when we talk about both problems, adverse selection and moral hazard, adverse selection, maybe we can take insurance market ka example, in which, people hide something, right? People don't tell everything correctly about their health, right? They go ahead and they say that, they have good health when in fact they may have some kind of disease, right? So if we go ahead and if we charge the right kind of premium, we will be able to ensure that the insurance company is covered, even if people may lie about their health, right? So we will just go ahead and write this down. Please write it with me. If the company, I'm talking about adverse selection first. Okay. I'm going to talk about adverse selection first. I'm just going to write uh, 2 lines, and then you can go ahead and frame that answer. Just a minute. Sometimes I just press some button. I don't know where it is, but then it just takes me to the main screen. Okay. So if the company charges an average premium for insurance, but only high risk consumers enroll, company takes financial loss by paying more claims. Thus, insurance companies, this is adverse selection, right, beta? That I cannot tell who is a high risk person and who is a low risk person. And if I charge an average premium in that case, then I may end up having a loss if all of them turn out to be high risk people. So insurance companies increase premium from policy holder, ensuring that they make profit. Right? So, so that is why you will see that with age, the premium that you have to pay increases irrespective of what your health is, right? Of course, they will do various health tests, but if suppose still, some people are able to go ahead and hide something, right? Then anyways, as your age increases, they will go ahead and ensure that they charge a higher premium, right? So this is what it is about. And same goes with the moral selection also. So in order to ensure that people don't do anything morally incorrect, one, they will charge higher premium. And secondly, they may also go ahead and they may put multiple terms and conditions that, if this is under this, then your claim will be rejected. If that, then the claim will be rejected, and so on and so forth, right? Okay, beta. So this is the answer to part number C. Okay, let's go to the next question. Part number D. So we are going ahead and saying that how do you derive the aggregate demand for private and public good? Okay, so good. So this question we have done multiple times as part of our mock tests also. And this goes ahead and it's a very common question. When you start studying public economics, literally this is the first thing that is taught in public eco. So when we talk about private goods always have horizontal summation, right? So for example, I'm just telling you first, let's try to learn. I'm pretty sure you will be able to write the answer, but we need to go ahead and we need to understand what the questions are saying. So and remember, these are for 5 marks. So you need to write the answer accordingly. So when I talk about private good, the important keyword here is horizontal summation. Right? And when I talk about public good, the important keyword here is vertical summation. So for private good, it is horizontal summation. For public good, it is vertical summation. Try to understand. See, when I go ahead and I talk about private good, suppose this is the demand curve of individual 1. Let me make a bigger one. Suppose this is the demand curve of individual A, right? And this is the demand curve for individual B, right? What we will be going ahead and we will be doing is at different prices, we will go ahead and we will try to understand what is the demand generated. So let's say that I take a price P. At this price, demand of individual B is also 0 and A is anyway 0. A is not willing to pay anything above PA. Let me take some prices here. So let me take that for you to understand better. Let me say that this price is 10 and this price is 20. Now try to understand that individual A is not willing to pay anything above 10. Das se upar pay nahi karega. Right? So when the price is 20, individual B is not willing to pay anything above 20. So at price 20, the demand will be 0. Nobody is buying. What happens if the price is 18? At price 18, individual B will buy these many units, but A will not buy. There is no demand from A. Anything above 10, A will not buy. What about price of 15 beta? Again, B will buy, but A will not buy. Anything above 10, A will not buy. What about price of 10 beta? Still, demand of A is 0, right? At 10, demand of A is exactly 0, right? So we say that if the price is 10 or anything above 10, if the price is 10 or anything above 10, the demand of the market is simply the demand done by B because the demand of A is 0. Is this clear? So the demand of B becomes the market demand curve. समझ रहे हो बात को? Are you understanding this? The demand of B becomes the market demand. अच्छा, what about price above 20 beta? Anything above 20 or 20, market demand will be 0. Both of them are not demanding. So this part. Market demand is 0. Am I clear? Okay, now let's take a price. Suppose I take the price to be 9. So A is demanding this much. B is demanding this much. So demand of B plus demand of A, that means in B, this is the demand of B, this much. I need to add some more part of A and this total, this will be my marketing. Clear? This much is the demand of B at price 9. This is the demand of B. And I have to add this extra here to get the total market demand. So this becomes the marketing. Same here, this much. So this is the demand of A. This is the demand of B. So in the demand of B, I have to add the demand of A to get the market demand. So this will become my market demand. Something like this. So this entire part that I have done here, this is going to be your market demand. So it has 3 components to it, beta. This part, and then this part, and then this part. 3 components to it. So this becomes your market demand curve. So we are adding horizontally. adding the quantity of A to the quantity of B, we are doing horizontal summation. Now let's talk about the public goods. Now I'm going to talk about the public goods. So when I talk about public goods, try to understand these come with vertical summation. So what is happening with public goods? Suppose this is the demand curve of A. This is the demand curve of B. Now, in case of public good, what happens now? We fix the quantity of the public good. So we are saying, dekho, there will be only one park. A will also get that park only and B will also get that park only. So there is only one park that I have. I have fixed the quantity of public good. At this one park, so this is demand of A and demand of B. For this one park, A is willing to pay 5 rupees and B is willing to pay 7 rupees. So what is the total money I have collected? I have collected 5 plus 7, that means 12 rupees. So I will mark 12 here and this will be the money collected. Clear? Suppose I tell you that, okay, we are building 3 parks. For these 3 parks, how much A is willing to pay? Beta 0. How much B is willing to pay? This much. Suppose B is willing to pay 3 rupees. So what is the total money collected? Only 3. A pays 0 plus what B pays 3. Suppose I tell you we make 4 parks. Again, A is willing to pay 0. B is willing to pay suppose 2 rupees. So this is the money collected. 5 parks. Both of them are willing to pay 0 for 5 parks. So try to understand that anything after 3 parks, A is willing to pay 0. So what is the maximum money we collect? Whatever B is willing to pay. So that is going to be here. After 5 parks, both of them are willing to pay 0. So it will be this part. Let's take a minute break. Not sure what has happened. Okay, so it's going to be this part, right? And here it is going to be this part, where you are adding what A and B are willing to pay. So for 2 parks, A is willing to pay 4 rupees, and B is willing to pay say 6 rupees. So total collected will be 10 rupees. Right? So vertical summation basically has 3 components to it. It will be this component, and then this component, and then this component. Is this clear? This is called as vertical summation. Okay, so in vertical summation, we get this kind of demand curves, and in horizontal summation, we get this kind of demand curves. This is called as market demand curve for a private good, and this is called as market demand curve for a public good. Okay. Okay, but I hope that these questions were helpful to you. I will go ahead and end today's session here. And I hope to see you again in the next session where we continue discussing the questions, past year questions of 2023. Thank you.